Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. Today we're going to be taking a look at December's exceptional story, Father's Oils. As always, at the start of a new exceptional story, there's spoilers ahead. Play these for yourself, support Failbetter, become an exceptional friend, and get all the benefits that go with it. But without further ado, let's start. You are no oil painting. At least, not yet. Your noble act of charity will change all that as you donate your time to the skills of a young artist, whether out of the goodness of your heart or the more vaulted aim of immortality in oil. Only you can determine which. Agreeing to pose as a model for a struggling Vale Garden portraitist, the Wretched Limner, will record your likeness for prosperity, and, to your great credit, assist the poor man in securing future patronage. He eagerly opens the door to his studio. Welcome, welcome. I guess we'll sit for our portrait? The Limner intends to remedy disinheritance by rendering handsome and faithful likenesses, starting with you. This painting will aptly demonstrate his talent. Rude poverty might have made a wretch of the Limner, but his studio is the expression of a studious mind. An inventory of props and artistic inspirations are arrayed in a way that allows the light in the room to best discover them. The Limner directs a charming smile at you as he insists you sit, for no charge. Of course. It'll be so worthwhile, he suggests. You shall keep the painting. What could possibly be greater recompense for your hours than hanging up your very own likeness in oils? A towering bronze sculpture, perhaps. But that's for another time. The Limner wrestles an easel into position between the jungled canvases and esoteric bric-a-brac. There is a creaking red leather chair for you to sit in. But what will you place on the little table at your elbow? Which trinket represents your person and place in the universe? You are invited to complete the composition with a personal flourish. Ooh. We have a couple of options. We have a burnished skull, a little reminder of what is to come. A taxidermied spaniel, Dusty by name, and now sadly dusty by lack of suitable display cabinet. Desiccated flowers, beginning to shed flakes of time-bleached pigment. Or a fungal terrarium, sealed for years, a landscape of toadstools ripens within. Let's go with the flowers. It's very traditional. Where did these once grow, and under what sun? They are certainly beautiful, but you cannot identify their variety, and the composition retains a distinct eeriness that worries the eye. Unfathomable, says the Limner, as if reading your thoughts. But I find flowers add a certain contrast to the human form. They have an alien quality. Don't you think? Okay. The chair is uncomfortable. Nonetheless, you persist. The longer you sit, the more excited and agitated the Limner becomes. He has seen something in the painting. He snaps at you to maintain your pose. Your eyes bulge eerily. Well, let's converse with the Limner. Whatever is the matter, must he behave so eccentrically in the light of your image? Such behaviour can only induce anxiety in the painter's subject. It's rather difficult to know if he's simply ignoring your concerns. What is going on here has struck the man with a terrible distraction. The Limner mutters and then whispers to himself. Did he moan? Is he frightened? The need to see the canvas becomes a gnawing urgency. Should sitting for a painting be frightening? Why is he breathing so heavily? Why is this place filling up with such dismal energy? Oh no. The Wretched Limner is focused on painting your portrait, but he seems puppeted by agitation. His face contorts. Emotions play across his entire body. Each glance he shares with you seems more fraught than the last. So, we can either wait patiently. He will certainly be finished before too long. His goal is to move on to those crucial paying subjects. We can sneak a peek, wait for a moment when he's entirely immersed in the canvas. Surely he won't notice. Or we can demand to see the painting. There is no rational reason why it should be hidden from sight. Let's sneak a peek. The glimpse puts butterflies in your chest. Something truly remarkable is happening on that canvas. It is a depiction that captures some vital distillation of your essence. It is not simply a painting, but a sort of biographical rendering in still life. Surely this painting will be a minor masterpiece. Finally, the last of the paint has vanished onto the canvas. It's time to breathe more easily. The uncomfortable pose can be dispensed with, yet the artist does not seem happy. What sort of mistake has he made in the final moments of creation? An incomplete picture. The Limner has finished, but there is no sense of relief. His face is pallid, his knuckles white. Somehow, the painting now lies empty. It is like peering into an uninhabited tomb. Where is the likeness? Where is the promised portrait? Escaped! The Limner's voice is tight and brimming with emotion. Escaped? Each time I look back upon my work, the canvas has changed, and not by my brush. Your likeness. It took on a horrid expression. It looked right at me. And it was making up its mind to leave. It stepped out of the frame and was gone. I did my best to create something good, but the painting, it had a life of its own. The Limner sets out a sob. The poor man wears a haunted look. His eyes lock with yours, and he whispers, as if worried about who might be listening. The likeness. It has gone elsewhere. He turns to the other paintings which line the room. Perhaps into the landscapes? Surely, you can't have gone far. I guess we can search the parlour. Many half-finished landscapes are here, many facing the wall, as though ashamed. Perhaps it could be found somewhere in this bleak moorland scene. What lurks in the shadows of weather-shattered stone, or in the hedgerows? What distant figures are visible? Peering closely reveals something. Are those footprints? It's hard to tell within the deeply rutted textures of the brush. We can investigate the basement, mine the debris. More paintings await. The Limner seems to have put the very worst paintings down here, as if to punish them. Perhaps it lurks among the pastoral scene of lonely sheep. Could the escaped image have joined the shepherds in their repose? Does it stand in the copse beyond? No. Of the vanished likeness, there is no sign. And yet, the sheep seem alert, as they might if they were a fox or a loose dog in the vicinity. Have they seen something? How could a painted animal be provoked to alarm? Let's consider the upstairs. Not decorous, but needs must. A study of a duchess. A monk from Amsterdam. Portraits of poets and urchins. There is precocious virtuosity here, but the likeness is not among them. I guess we shall put the pieces together. If the likeness can escape a frame, what restrictions is offered by the walls of a studio? It has exited not just the portrait, but this entire building. What other paintings are close by? There must be many. This is Vale Garden, after all. One has to only hurl a paintbrush to clip an admirer of Mr. Ruskin upon the ear, observes the limner despondently. This could take a lifetime. There your likeness has the advantage. The young man suggests visiting those most immediate neighbours of his, the aristocrats slumming in the mouldering manor opposite, or the artist's studio a door down the street, or even the house adjacent where his neighbour is probably, hopefully, already deceased. Okay, so we have to do 3 things: discover the source of outrage, take in the scene of violence, or gain access to the residence of a recluse. I assume all these are in Vale Garden. Oh, we're just going straight to the manor. There are shrieks of outraged consternation from the fine-looking house. And the limner said there was no one at home. The owner is a fine gentleman, dressed in silks and, unfortunately, outrage. Well, let's enter the manor. Find out what caused such terrible upset. As if you could not guess. A fine house, with many paintings on the wall, has been thoroughly disturbed by the passage of the horrid likeness. There are many paintings which now display scenes that were never meant to be portrayed. A trail of destruction and affront runs through them. Shocked faces, rude, upset. The likeness did it all. The trail of defacement and alteration runs like a mudslide through the scenes of London life. Can the likeness be arrested here before it does even more damage? We can study the scene. Which way is the likeness heading from here? It moves through the building. A smashed vase, footprints, a trail of blood, an open gate. The cows are loose, all in one painting. And no denizen of London should feel comfortable knowing cows are in peril, particularly in a painting. Indeed, for Londoners there is limited opportunity to see cows anywhere else. The trail ends. There are no more paintings here. Livid eyes regard you, head to toe. "These things that have happened are somehow your fault," shrieks the resident. "You were in my paintings. My solicitor shall see you pay for all damages." Oh dear. We have 3 options. We can just pay them, or we can leave a donation. It's only polite, given the circumstances. We can jump out the window and thus avoid payment. It's what your likeness would have done, after all. Or we can shout over there, a distraction, to get out of the door. And perhaps you can grab something shiny on the way out. This gilded individual will hardly miss it. They have more than their fair share. I'm stealing something. A valuable sort of thing can go straight into a pocket, and who knows what it might be worth. Oh, I got an unprovidenced artifact. Nice. I sure hope the solicitor doesn't have my address. Ah, here we go. Here are the 3 things. Well, I guess the 2 things, being the top one is the main. The studio next door. Let's start there. 2 artists, one cherubic and the other balding, spill out into the street, shouting and brawling. They could be mistaken for common ruffians, with their sleeves rolled up and their faces swollen with rage. But their paint-covered aprons suggest that there is more to them than street boxing. Both blame the other for vandalized canvases, raging about ruination and desecration of art. Let's approach the scene. Voices are raised, but also fists. A fight is happening. An actual fight, gasps the limner. And you, sir, have vandalized mine. The combatants circle each other, their faces red, their hair wild, their waistcoats hardly buttoned at all. Their rage will not quickly subside, for each believes the other a saboteur. And although nearby urchins cheer at the sight, it is abundantly clear that these artists should not also be fighters. My money's on the big one, whispers the limner, although we should probably intervene and not let this duel go the course. The scuffling intensifies. Ending this violence in an efficient manner before any real harm is done seems like the most practical path to a resolution of conflict. I have a good idea why this argument has actually broken out, suggests the limner. He implies the escaped likeness is to blame. But is he correct? 3 options. We can defend the cherubic painter. That face seems so innocent. How could he not be the victim? We can defend the balding artist. He is crying. The tears move your heart. This poor man's being so emotional in a public place. Or we can watch with interest. 2 artists make a scene in manner which does not involve paints. Perhaps best to watch. Let's defend the balding artist. I'm surprised there isn't an option to just kind of not take a side, but I'm sure this'll work out. You intervene in the fracas. But whose painting was damaged by whom? That's enough, gentlemen. You can't fight in the street. It's embarrassing for everyone. The limner seems to know them, at least as a neighbour knows his own. The fight momentarily becomes an ugly sort of dancing as the men swing each other around by their clothes. They were neither bred nor trained for combat, and already the hot rage of their affront is cooling. And they can see that brawling in front of others really won't do. Red-faced, they begin to subside. With a sort of peace brought to the studio steps, there is a chance to assess whether the likeness is the cause of all this noise. Has the escaped painting made a nuisance of itself out here in the wider world? Let's examine the scene. Both paintings must be regarded with an eye to the accusations made. The passage of the horrid likeness has made a mockery of the artist's intentions. An apple cart has been turned over in one, and the other now includes a gentleman with a black eye. Your likeness, whispers the limner, is truly a vandal. Let's go check on the reclusive neighbour. Is there anyone at home? You make brisk passage along the street, noting the grimy windows. Could nobody have taken the time to wash them? Oh, there is some manner of commotion inside. The silhouette of a woman, and it seems that she's upset about something. I wonder what that fuss is about, says the limner, who likely knows all too well the source of all the fuss. Let's peer in through the window. Is that the likeness in there? In the gloom? Certainly a familiar sort of shadow seems to lurk in the painting above the fireplace. If only you could get hold of that painting, then perhaps there might be a way to halt this absurd transgression of art. The wretched limner looks more wretched than ever. His eyes brim with tears, as if he is ready to give in to emotion. Perhaps it is true that an artist must suffer for their art, but must they also share that suffering with those nearby? Surely the subject should benefit, feeling some warm glow in being perceived, interpreted, and recorded, not set loose upon the streets of London. Now you must get at that painting. You knock resolutely upon the door. Entry must be permitted, because this is an emergency. The door opens just a crack. A reddened eye peers out. Please, madame, it is a matter of huge artistic importance. Tragically, we must examine the art above your mantelpiece, explains the limner to the suspicious occupant. Truly, there is no other option. Please, wipe your feet on the mat. A very musty interior. It hasn't been prepared for guests. It really seems like no one has been here in many years. The air has a stale quality. The dust sits undisturbed across the surfaces of almost everything. The only signs of inhabitation are the little traces of the occupant's passage. A shrinking, vanishing sort of woman who does not wish to be perceived. She points the way, eyes down, cowl up. Here is a fetching Dutch still life depicting a lovely bowl of exotic fruit. The reflected light is a particularly accomplished affection. Certainly, this is valuable. There is something peculiar about it, something that doesn't look entirely original. A still life hangs above the fireplace. What has the horrid likeness done here? The owner's finger points. Who has taken a bite from the apple? She demands. The poor woman is understandably mortified. No one has been in the parlour for years. And this was an original Van der Melde. There really is no easy way to explain, but you suspect the bite marks match your own teeth. Assuming the likeness's dental records match your own, could the limner have painted in a different dental history? Certainly the metaphysics of the situation are challenging for anyone to understand. Okay, let's put the pieces together. So the horrid likeness is leaping from painting to painting. So with all that information, we can deduce a destination. What landmark or noteworthy location lies in the direction of travel through Vale Garden? What could the likeness intend by this vector? The Municipal Gallery. The recently formed constellation of art formed of the shining stars of canvas and board. What modern soul has not desired to walk through its halls and appreciate the human achievement gathered therein? And for your horrid likeness, it is a passage to the myriad of possibility. Entire painted worlds for it to vandalize and ruin. The gallery's founders cannot have foreseen the danger that collecting so many great works in one place might pose. Hundreds, if not thousands, of paintings, once innocuous and untransversible, now await to be sullied by the rampant image. To the gallery. The wretched limner slows and then stops. His face expresses the struggle taking place in his thoughts. What will we do once we reach the gallery? Even if we catch up with your likeness, how are we to arrest it? How can we contain it? The thing will flee to another painting. What fools we would look, rushing from one image to the next, our hands at our heads. You review what the limner knows about this strange occurrence. So how did the likeness even come to escape? The limner must try to recollect. If the initial cause can be understood, then the solution should become apparent. I think it might have something to do with the oils themselves. Those paints were the only thing left to be by my father, the Limner recalls. And the colours, they always seemed a little discourteous. They merged and blended as if they had a will of their own. I really don't know how familiar you are with paints, the Limner confides, conspiratorially, but they usually behave politely enough. These ones were truly perverse. The Wretched Limner stoops as if under the weight of the situation, his hands to his mouth. Father always despised my efforts to become an artist like him, and yet he left me nothing but a single set of paints. It is a mystery, and a horrible one. What does the Limner recall of his father's work? Well, he was more of a watercolour man, but now that I think about it, there was something else. As a boy, the Limner's voice drops to whispers, I watched through a curtain as my father failed to paint the strangest of all patrons. The Limner twitches as something awful plays out in his mind's eye. The pigments, they would just not cohere. Eventually, Father switched to these oils. That seemed to do the trick. And he only used these oils once, to paint a devil, a very well-dressed devil. I remember, a dark overcoat of bold cut. I think that client may have provided the paints for Father to use. Oh no, we have devilish paints? The Wretched Limner sighs wretchedly. His disinheritance now seems like the least his father has burdened him with. Well, let's see if we can find the father's oil painting. If the subject of that original work stayed in place, will the portrait of a devil have an answer to your situation? The Wretched Limner thinks through the implications aloud. If we can find Father's original portrait, painted with these oils, then perhaps we can learn more about their nature upon the canvas. To my knowledge, the painting was locked in the forbidden collection, the Brass Embassy. Father said it could not be publicly displayed. Paintings of devils rarely are. And so the embassy is the best destination for us, then, even as your likeness makes for the gallery, says the Limner. Although I worry whether we'll be granted access. The infernal mind loves its administrative hurdles. Out in the streets, the public mood has worsened. Here there are glances come your way. Some exhibiting vague recollection, others naked ire. There are shouts, and then items are thrown in your direction. You have been recognized for the appearance of your likeness across the city. People are not impressed by what the thing has done to their treasured works of art. A vase comes flying from an open window, followed by curses. So we can protest innocence. Don't these people understand that a likeness is a mere symbol? It is not what it represents. We can walk a little faster. There's no shame in simply strolling with a little more urgency, removing yourself from this escalating situation. Or we can stoically ignore the rabble, calmly continue as if they were not there. You are simply on your way to the Brass Embassy to deal with an unfortunate situation. I'm going to stoically ignore them. I saw you in a pub sign, yells a mouth that comes with a whiff of wine. Caught fire. Now it says to come down. How'll I know where to get a drink? You are jostled and even pushed as you make your way down the street. Eyes straight ahead. The situation is chaotic, with people brandishing rudely altered paintings and openly weeping. As the crowd falls away behind you, there's a moment of relief, and you reach reassuringly for the Limner. But he's not there. You stop and look back at the dispersing rabble. He's gone. You turn this way and that, looking for your companion. The Wretched Limner has been lost en route. Or did he flee? Where is he? You can't continue without him. This entire debacle is his responsibility, isn't it? Oh, where has he gone? So we can either call out his name, he can't have gone far, perhaps he is simply hiding nearby. Surely he was startled by the crowd. We can retrace our steps, careful not to encounter those whose anger you drew on the first trip along the street, or we can just ask someone. Surely one of these people will help. They cannot all be related to devalued paintings. Let's ask somebody. The artist fellow, covered in paint? Yeah, I did see him. A local character puts finger to their lips, summoning the will to remember. He... Yes? He went... Come now. Into that darkened alley. The finger now points across the street. To a gloomy portal. I won't go in there. That's old London in there. The very bones. Came up in that big kerfuffle with the grand opening up a few years back. No good can come of it. Thanking them, all the same, you head for the dark space and within a moment make out the now familiar silhouette of the Wretched Limner, stooped in shadow. A cemetery. An abandoned place where London's dead were once interred. This derelict and overgrown location is littered with headstones, those markers which catalogue the names and dates of those who have vanished into another place. The poor Limner leans on one of these, weeping, openly crying. At least this place is secluded and untrafficked, sparing you both the embarrassment of a public spectacle. Let's approach the poor man, with care and caution, for he is tired and emotional. I've been tricked into this calamity by my own father, says the Limner. Why would he leave those paints to me? Why would he not tell me what dangers I was inheriting? Intended to do good for you and I both. I have inspired entire streets of strangers to curse your appearance. What if we cannot capture the horrid likeness? What fate will befall us then? His sorrow is obvious and pitiful. Something must be done to staunch the tearful flow of self-pity. The Limner slouches over a headstone in a pose of abject lamentation. His sobs emerge with you as the sole audience. Obviously, the Limner is overcome with emotion, but you really need to get a move on. How best to approach this? So, we can do a firm pat on the shoulder. There. It's not the Limner's fault. Not entirely. Other forces are at work here. We can clear away the headstone. Let's have a look at whose inscription the Wretched Limner is so sorrowful over. Could it be a relative? Or we can express disappointment, even anger. There is no time for moping. Save that for dark nights in the loft. Misery is as fuel to the fire. Let's clear away the headstone. I'm curious. Ah, Mr. William Blake. Cleared of detritus and growth, it is revealed that the stone belongs to a name of a previous generation. A recipient of visions. You realise the Limner has been here before. This is a place of pilgrimage for him. You nod, understandingly, as if agreeing with some deep sentiment. You would not have suffered so, says the sorrowful artist, indicating to the headstone. Do you think I will be remembered? The Limner asks, through tearful eyes. Perhaps, but it won't be in a good way. We don't get to the embassy fairly promptly. For better or worse, your intervention has altered the Limner's state of mind. Now that his momentary crisis is averted, the brass embassy and its forbidden collection of infernal art is calling. You only hope that you won't be further waylaid by the aggrieved owners of soiled paintings. To the embassy then. Time to clean up his father's mess. You leave the shadowed groves of the cemetery and head back into the artfully troubled streets. Does it seem possible that the Limner, would have been able to leave behind the emotions which threatened to overwhelm him. You look over and see that he has taken on a steely sort of look. Whatever his feelings, he's now ready to fix the mess that his painting has made of him. You and the priceless arts of London. Right, and I think before we head into the Brass Embassy itself, I shall end this first episode here. It's interesting. It seems to be using quite a lot of my actions, but I think I used a few before I started the actual recording, so it might be that. But I'm enjoying this so far. I am a sucker for anything to do with paintings. So, thank you all very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Any sort of interaction on a first episode in a news story is always great. It helps spread it around YouTube. I've also learned there's this thing called hype. Apparently you can hype up videos. I don't know. It's going to be down under the video somewhere. You know, YouTube, they change stuff all the time. But if you do that, thank you so much. But obviously, just liking, commenting, it's all greatly appreciated. Thank you to the members of the channel and the coffee supporters. It helps me keep making these videos. And as always, I'll see you next time.